Hello to the chicos and the chicas. How are you going, lovely folks? Today we are going to talk again openings, and in this video I am going to tackle the issue of the Sicilian defense, which is a crucially important opening to the degree that I think that everyone should try at least, but in my opinion it's very, very good if you keep that particular opening as part of your repertoire. And here I actually need to immediately make a very clear cut in the video in terms of let's talk about white and then black. So if you are white and you are a d4 player, well then rough luck, you are not going to get Sicilian. That's okay, don't worry, you will get your fair share of fun in other openings, guaranteed. So that's totally cool. Now if you are white and you are an e4 player and you play any kinds of anti-Sicilian, I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't, but I definitely would question that and would go like, why would you do that? Why would you avoid the Sicilian, of all things, the open Sicilian, which by definition is the most fun opening that has ever been invented? I'm not going to open this up for an argument. It's a fact. Done, dusted. It's a fact. Do not even start an argument. If you want to see fun chess, you are going to need to see the Sicilian. The largest number of tremendously awesome games that have been known worldwide, and they, flooded the chess media and they were published and republished and made videos about Sicilian games. There is no argument about it. The most amazing attacking games usually come from Sicilian. So it's just an opening that if you are an e4 player, I am one of those guys, I can't wait for the Sicilian to come. You should embrace it. Like anti-Sicilian to me sounds like here is a 7-course meal from the best restaurant in town, and you go like, no, I prefer to eat Macca's, that's what we call McDonald's in Australia, and eat some garbage hamburger that has never seen meat or vegetables, real that is, ever in history. Like, who does that? Like, you say, I love eating, I love food. Okay, do you want a 7-course meal? Nah, hamburgers please. Like, don't do that please. So embrace it, man. And usually here the counter argument that I'm getting is that, oh, but there is so much theory. So what? Are you going to play tomorrow against Topalov? I don't think so. So why do you need to learn so much theory? Does your opponent know so much theory? No, they don't. Do I know so much theory? I know some. Who cares if you don't know theory? Do you actually know your anti-Sicilian theory? I doubt it. I really, really do doubt it. So instead of playing the open Sicilian because you don't want to learn theory, you play something else, and I dare say you still don't know theory. What's the point? And you don't need to know opening theory up to 15-20 moves to play proper Sicilian openings. If you look at a key game or 2 or 3 at the most in every single line, you already have got some foundations that you can build your Sicilians around. I'm a big believer anyway that when you're starting out, the best way to learn openings is to do parallel, side by side. Learn it, play it. And more often than not, what's going to happen is that you learn something, and when you play it, it's going to be something else. So be it. That's a learning procedure. And you're learning it whilst you're doing it. What is more fun than that? Oh, but I'm going to lose games. So what? That's part of the learning. And you're going to win games too. Sicilian is fundamentally fun. Now, if you are on the black side, I also think that Sicilian should be at one point part of your repertoire. In fact, I do think that either as a main one or either as a secondary option, the Sicilian should be part of everyone's weaponry because it's very much fun, but more importantly, it's very dynamic. It's an opening that allows you to play for a win as black. It's asymmetrical, which again offers a lot of room for creativity, for winning chances, to play creative, good chess, just to be fun, have fun. That's what the Sicilian is for you. I mean, who would not want to play as white an open Sicilian when I'm going to embrace, for example, the Richter rouser, and I'm going to go like, uh-oh, time to call the ambulance. But not for me. There is the chess version of the meme. Queen takes, king f2, queen a1, bishop b5. Oopsie daisy, baby. Queen on, bishop on. Queen takes rook, bishop takes... No, queen takes pawn. And queen c8 mate is unstoppable. Whoa, who is the ambos coming for? Do you not want to win games like this? Really? I don't think so. I have won more than one game from this position, or in this very position, just by virtue of playing open Sicilian main lines and my opponents falling for this very common trap that they take on c3 here, which is unsound and early. And then I haven't even spoken from about the other thing here, and that is that after d, which is main line fe, the correct main line for black here is e6. Quite amazing, and actually taking here allows black to take the bishop. And after castles, black plays bishop c6, still retaining this sideways spin. And actually, after knight b5 and bishop b5, opening theory then continues on. However, I also scored a lot of easy victories here when my opponents played bishop c6, which is the wrong order to do this, because now I can play b4, denying the sideways spin, and grab the free piece next. And you could go like, well, that doesn't look like a lot of fun for black. Not until you actually are black in this line, which means that you would invest about 20 minutes to understand the theory of it. And then you could come up with a side variation like this, played by István Csomó, a very well-known Hungarian grandmaster, part of the Olympiad winning team from 1978. I actually spent a couple of months coaching with him. It's tremendous fun. The dude has an amazing positional sense. So here he's actually sacking a pawn on f6 and goes like, yeah, take me, bro. And then after rook g8, bishop g7, I'm gonna gut you in a blink of an eye. All of a sudden, it's the black who is coming up with the attack. So his opponent castles, he plays bishop e7, and now he's luring white into that false sense of security that we are entering the variation that I showed you just then. But nay, not the case, because here instead of the bishop being on c6, we have a bishop on e7, but what that means is that now I can castle without compromising anything at all, and now white still is hoping to transpose into main lines, but nay, that's not happening. Bishop c6, hitting the queen, queen f4, trying to still utilize the spin, but no, not happening, not in my house. Now if ef6, we take g5, we take on f6, white can resign. And so he goes bishop takes, hoping that, okay, I have won a pawn, all good, except nothing is good at all, because now the two bishops on the black side are tremendously powerful, and here comes the rather unexpected blow that instantly decides the game. Boomski! Bishop a3, baby. Good luck holding this. Quite amazingly, white is actually real hardcore struggling to hold this together. Usually what tends to happen in this setup, by the way, is that if you try to hold the knight, which they didn't do, then after a trade like this, it's impossible to hold g2. The two bishops are so monstrously powerful that black is just going to score a knockout win in this endgame without any dramas at all. The two bishops are just too strong. Unfortunately for white, he actually chose to be smart and move the knight which was hanging, forgetting that tactics are on both sides very powerful in the Sicilian, and lost in a mere 18 moves. So nothing is crystal clear in the Sicilian, and that's the beauty of it. I encourage a lot of people who are tactically minded, who don't mind a little bit of extra learning, to play Dragon. And that is just like the ultimate fun, because in the Dragon, usually one gets mated. Whether it's black or white, it's anybody's guess. But the fight is there. If you are a good tactician, someone who excels at the take calculations, really enjoys attacking, this is for you, man. Do this. Look at that. Rook c8. Boomski. No worries, we are going Saccharino. Now, this is semi-sound. but it tells a lot about the mindset that is behind the Sicilian players' thought process, and that is that I'm coming for you and I have the means to do that. You can't do this if you play the French. No way. You're sitting there until move 25 to have your first chance to actually cross the halfway line. And there is no dynamism to it at all. Whereas here, you sleep once and look at this fireworks, knight takes. And if knight takes back after 94, it is just absolute carnage. It's mate, to be exact, like queen here. Queen a3, king b1, checkerino, and we have to give up the queen to avoid disaster. That's it. It's actually Resica, a dude who was recently on the chess podcast, Perpetual Chess podcast with Ben Johnson. The dude who is very good at learning everything, including opera singing and chess. But here he's actually going down as white in a very ugly fashion. Like, look at that. White goes like, ooh, now f3 is under attack by 2. Black goes like, knock yourself out. It's just amazing how quickly in the Sicilian things can turn. And that's the attraction. This is chess, that your opponent makes one mistake and you strike instantly. Knight takes back on f3, knight e4, and mate is unstoppable. G to the G. And so in the game he actually took on f3 with the queen, but after bishop takes g4, queen f2, queen a1 check, he decided to throw in the towel, because king d2, knight e4, king d3, knight f2 check just mops up everything. Not playable. Do you want another appetizer for the Sicilian? Let me show you this. At home, as a bit of a homework, I started working on the bishop c4 knight off as a repertoire for myself. And so I have analyzed this a lot in the past 10 years, and I have got some secret novelties and positions that I've got a lot worked out on, which I store in a chess-based file, which is what you should do, by the way, if you develop your opening files, and always add to it. When you play a game which followed that line, then you usually enter that variation into your file. And so my file actually contains a lot of games played by me, because this bishop g5 side variation, which is a bit of a hobby horse of mine, is not really something that is played a lot on top level, but I really enjoy it because it offers tremendous tactical opportunities for white, and if black goes wrong, I can score a win without even having to think at all, because I just memorize the whole variation. And I know that this is what exactly you are going to say, that, oh, exactly my point, but you actually don't need to memorize the variation, because, for example, here, when I worked on this line, the first thing that I made note of, that castles here is a losing move. And I remember that the reason why it's losing is e5. So now, even if you don't memorize your line, but you remember that it's losing because of e5, then you are going to work it out over the board. Or if you don't, at least there is a solid chance you would. And the idea is this magnificent queen sack. And 2 days ago, I had a game like this. And my line in my chess-based file, if I'm not mistaken, stops here and says white is better. And that's all I remember too. So from here on, I was on my own. 3 minor pieces for the queen, beautiful attack, a-okay. For the record, I actually, and this is again what happens, I lost a game, or 2, or 3, or 5, against bishop takes d1. I took it back, they went rook e8, they played h6, they somehow won this dude, and I was in a lot of hurt. And I'm like, what's going wrong here? I remember it was winning, so I checked with the engine. After like the 4th loss, after bishop takes e takes, bishop takes d1, and then I discovered that, oh, you complete baboon, knight takes e6, knockout punch, fabulous stuff with queens down. This is what people say, I don't want this, who play the close Sicilian. Why would you do that? Or the Alpine, or whatever garbage anti-Sicilians you are playing. Like, why? Who would want to say no to an opportunity like this? And I did score multiple wins with this beautiful trick of bishop takes d1, knight e6, because once you see it, you won't forget this stuff. That the queen moves wins the queen and the rook. If they take, check. Let's go with this beauty. You won't forget this. And so 2 days ago, I'm having this on my chessboard. And I'm like, right, now I'm on my own, but I know I'm winning. And after h6, bishop h4, g5, I'm like, oh, this is not cool. I'm losing e7. What's happening? And then I realized that after rook g1, if they play queen e7, I have f4, and that's carnage. And then for a second, I started to worry about king h8. And then I went like, I think I know what's going on here. I'm gonna take g5, thank you very much. You take back, I go rook g5, and my plan is to mate you like so, and it's incredibly difficult to defend. He took on e7, and I was already with my mouse reaching for the rook to put it on g1, but then I went like, hold on a tick, and then I realized that if I go check here, check king f8, I have mate. And then I went like, oh my god, check this checkmate out. Check, check, and checkmate. Good luck telling me that you don't want to play Sicilian when this is what you can do as white. And there are lots of real dirties, as I showed you, that you can also do as black. Do you want to see Kramnik as white going down against the Sicilian in 20 moves? What other opening do you think Kramnik ever lost as white in? I mean, granted, Kramnik is a d4 player predominantly, and so his understanding was a little bit inferior in this very sharp Sicilian, and he's playing against Topalov, who, after Kasparov, is the greatest expert of the English attack. And still, look at this game. He totally misunderstands how he's meant to play, falls apart on the king side and the center, and look at that queen. Trapped, baby. I mean, it's optically looking alright. He has finished development and black is still nowhere near done. But this is the Sicilian for you. Looks can be deceiving. Exact calculation is your only true rule and God to follow. d5, knight c5, queen a7, and he's falling apart on c5. Game is over. 20 moves. Real-time control, full-time control game. Kramnik, world champion, knocked out of the park like this. So, long story short, I very highly encourage everyone to play the Sicilian. As a black, you can start off fairly early with this, as long as you don't go into something extremely theoretical, because when you are 1200, 1300, you still would like to rely on reasonably easy lines to learn. And so you need to be a little bit careful there. I wouldn't recommend a dragon that early on. Then again, if you are an attacker who has got a good understanding for tactics, you probably could. If you are more of a positionally minded player, I somewhat paradoxically recommend you the accelerated dragon, because that is actually not as theoretical, funnily enough, because that tends to have a simpler setup either via the Marozzi bind or the mainline accelerated dragons, which are far less theoretical than the mainline dragon. And for positional players, quite ironically, I very highly recommend the Sveshnikov. There is a good reason that the Sveshnikov was mastered, for example, by Kramnik, who is a very positional player. Because the Sveshnikov is a very cool mix of aggression and positional understanding. If you are a vicious attacker on the black side, I definitely recommend you to do the dragon, the Naidov. These are your two go-tos. And also for positionally minded players, the Sicilian Khan and the Paulsen also are very sound choices. And if you are someone who enjoys a bit of strategy, a bit of positional play, but also doesn't mind trying to out-calculate your opponent, then there is the mix of Naidov and Scheveningen for you to consider, alongside with the Rouser, the 4-Knight Classical. So there is a vast world of opportunities there for everyone to explore. And if you are a white player with e4, as far as I'm concerned, like, what are you doing with your chess if you are not playing Sicilian, open Sicilian? Like, that's the reason why you play e4. That's the way I see it, and it's very drastic and probably not a very inclusive world. But then again, that's like e4, c5, and you go like, I don't want Sicilian. I don't know, man. I thought you wanted to have fun. That's why we play chess. And I'm not saying that the anti-Sicilians are not fun, but most definitely. And once again, just two things to note here. No world champion I can think of up from Botvinnik. That's quite a few, right? So we're talking about Botvinnik, Smyslov, Petrosyan, Tal, not in order, but it doesn't matter now. Spassky, Fischer, Karpov, Kasparov, Kramnik, Carlsen, whoever I missed, Halifman even, and all the knockout world champions, all of them. There is not one player in this list, not a single one, who wouldn't have had the Sicilian as an integral part of their repertoire as black. Not one. And many of them played it as black. Many of them, as white. So let me go through the list again. So Smyslov, Tal, Petrosyan didn't. Fischer, Spassky, Karpov, Kasparov, even Kramnik, 7 out of the last 10 I listed, played the Open Sicilian as white too. So when people go like, well, Carlsen sometimes plays the London, yeah, he does sometimes. Compare that to 7 out of 10 on a regular basis in crucially important games play the Sicilian with white. 10 out of 10 plays the Sicilian as black in crucial games. Not the bonk. Sorry, didn't say that. And the London. No. Sicilian, man. That's the chess for you that is going to result in you having fun, enjoying yourself. My final words. Play the Sicilian. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Thanks for watching.